Howdy, howdy. This is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health, and I am really excited today because I'm going to share with you just some thoughts I have in general about being plant-based for nearly 6 months. It's been a game changer. As I went to the gym today, I had several people who it's like overnight they said, it looks like I've changed. Well, it's been nearly 6 months. But what happens is when we start getting sustainable energy, when we start getting a sustainable weight, a healthy weight, it sort of adjusts our body and things kind of move around in a really great way. Some of the things I thought about as the benefits of going plant-based are heart health, minimizing, I've got my little list here, wanted to make sure I covered what I was thinking. But memory increase is one of them. You get better memory with eating plant-based because you have more clarity. But minimizing the risk of stroke, minimizing the risk of cancer, and actually there are scientific studies that people like Dr. Colin Campbell, Dr. Joel Furman, Dr. McDougall, they have researched the reversal of cancer and heart disease and inflammation. I actually started because of inflammation. I had really bad inflammation in my right hand, and as a writer, it was really reducing the amount of time I could spend writing, and it was impacting the quality of my work. And so I did a lot of research, and what came up was if I got rid of meat, if I got rid of dairy, if I got rid of all the things that really contributed to the inflammation, and I went plant-based, that probably I would see just an incredible reduction in inflammation. Well, not only was it an incredible reduction, it was in 2 days, it completely went away and has not come back. And that's been nearly 6 months since I started the plant-based journey. So it started with inflammation. And then after about 6-7 weeks, I went for blood work at my doctor for an annual physical. And she said my numbers were off the charts great. So not only did I get rid of the inflammation, I reduced my risk of heart attack. I reduced my risk of, which I have a very real risk for breast cancer and colon cancer. I reduced that risk by going plant-based. Now, it's so interesting. Oh, and another byproduct, this was not my focus, but a byproduct is I've dropped 34 pounds. I'll put some pictures up so you can see the before and after. And the picture of the after is actually 10 pounds heavier than I am right now. So I've dropped 35 pounds and I've consistently maintained that weight for about a month now, which is incredible to me because usually I would go on these binge diets that I would lose the weight and I would go back to my old way of eating and I would gain the weight back and some. I've been a yo-yo dieter all my life since about the age of 12. When I had my first crush at the age of 12, I thought, okay, I'm going to drop a few pounds so that this guy will pay attention to me. I dropped a few pounds, he never paid attention to me, and so I gained the weight back. What I have realized with plant-based eating is it's a lifestyle change. It's not a change of short-term solutions. It's a change of long-term lifestyle transformation. And so the thing that I really know to be true is that I'm having better health today than ever before. My endurance in running is better. My recovery time is incredibly great because it used to take me all day to recover from a 5 or 6 mile run. Now I go on a 5 or 6 mile run. I have energy to spare. My recovery time is practically nothing. I'm ready to go do something else. And I attribute all that to the fact I don't have inflammation and I feel great. So as I look at it, the first question people ask today at the gym when a few people were commenting on how great I'm looking and my skin looks clear and I've dropped weight and yada, yada, yada. The one question that came up is, what about protein? Well, what about protein? You actually get as much, if not more protein when you eat a well-rounded plant-based eating protocol. I eat a lot of beans, I eat a lot of legumes, I eat a lot of green vegetables, a whole variety of vegetables. I eat a ton of fruit. And people say, oh, you can't eat fruit because of the carbohydrates. What I recommend is that you read the book Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Fuhrman, Eat to Live by Dr. Joel Fuhrman, and The China Study by Dr. Colin Campbell. I'll put the links below this video. But what you'll find is that we have been led to believe things that aren't true by the meat manufacturers, by the poultry manufacturers, by the dairy manufacturers, by the fish manufacturers. The reality is the way that animals are farmed is very unethical. It's very cruel. And there are things going on where people say, oh, don't tell me because I'll lose my appetite for meat. Well, I hope so, because we are doing cruel, cruel, cruel things to the animals. It's interesting because I started this whole protocol as a way to minimize the inflammation. That led into watching the weight literally melt off of me. That led into all the health benefits. As I approach my 65th birthday in just a couple of months, I'm healthier now than I've ever been in my life. I have more energy now than I've ever had in my life. It's just incredible what's happening. And yet it bled into, I shouldn't use that word bled into, because the animals are bled out when they're killed many times. But it led into the whole compassion for animals. I do animal rescue. I love animals. I claim that I'm very compassionate to animals, and yet I was eating animals. And it took me until my 64th year before I really came to my senses on this. And some people say, well, I tried plant-based eating for a while and I just couldn't stick to it. You have to look at the big picture. Look at the big why of why you're going plant-based. For me, it's about my health. For me, it's about compassion to the animals. For me, it's about doing my little tiny itty bitty part on helping the environment, because all of the behaviors behind plant-based eating have positive impacts on other things. And one is the kindness to animals. The other is the kindness to the environment. And there are people that say we're not going through global warming, we're not going through climate change. We are. You can look, there's enough evidence that we are. Look at the number of fires and the massive fires that are going on. Look at the ice storms that we're going through. Look at the heating of the earth that is actually melting the ice in areas that it's never happened before. And so I encourage you, really look at the behaviors behind what you're doing in your life and look at the reasons you want to be plant-based. But the whole issue of, are you getting enough protein? Absolutely. I'm getting a great deal of protein. Do you eat enough? Well, that's one thing. You have to eat a lot to really sustain yourself on plant-based eating. Oh, another issue that comes up is the cost. It costs so much to go plant-based. No, it doesn't. Not if you buy in bulk, not if you buy in a way that you're doing a lot of cooking from scratch. If you're buying processed plant-based foods, that's not a whole food plant-based diet. I really subscribe to a whole food plant-based diet. And I would encourage you, if you're new to this or you're wanting to explore it, get my beginner's guide. It's Beginner's Guide to Plant-Based Eating. And all you need to do is go to plantbasedeatingforhealth.com/guide, and you'll be able to access the guide for free. In it, I have a 7-day reboot. I have my own story. I'll put the links below. But again, I encourage you, look at what you're doing in your own life to either contribute to your health or to deflect your health. And some people say, oh, this is so difficult. To me, it would be more difficult to get a disease that could have been prevented. To me, it would be more difficult to have inflammation that restricts me from movement that is the movement I need in my hands, in my face, in my legs, in my feet, all of that. It's all about our choices. It's all about the perspective we have on what we want to do for our health. This is Kathleen Gage with Plant-Based Eating for Health. I encourage you to listen to the interviews on this channel. I'll be putting more interviews up as we go along. I have Zach, who I'm going to be interviewing very shortly. He's a bodybuilder, completely plant-based, and he actually is a champion bodybuilder, and he proves that you can be plant-based and you can create and build a lot of muscle. I have other athletes I'm going to be interviewing. I have professionals, entrepreneurs I'm going to be interviewing. I interviewed my editor, Madeline Eno. I interviewed Lana from Montana, Lana Nelson, who wrote the food codes. I interviewed Kathy McGoey Smith, who dropped 120 pounds. I interviewed Brian Rogers, who dropped 105 pounds. I encourage you, watch their interviews and see where the common thread is. The common thread is they're doing this for a bigger purpose than just what is on their plate. And yet what's on their plate allows them to be much more conscious in the way they live their life. This is Kathleen Gage wishing you a great day, a plant-based day, a healthy day.